On the edge of a mesa with 1,000-foot drop-offs stand ancient towers, silent sentinels of a people long vanished. What drove them to build this fort? The ruins and carvings nearby whisper of warning, of survival, and of fear. And etched into the stone, the petroglyphs reveal something extraordinary, the first clear proof that these ancients hunted with dogs. Look at this. There's smoke all on the outside of these walls, even there. This is looking in. So this is the exciting part, the petroglyphs that are here. So there's more to this than what I've seen before. Honestly, I'm very surprised that these fortresses aren't talked about more in our history. They're pretty significant. These were 800 to 1,000 years ago when these were built. And who's heard about fortresses built here in the United States? Now, it was pretty common in Europe and Japan, but you don't hear about them here in the US, and yet here it is, and here they did it. So I'm not sure how bad the wind noise is going to be. Hopefully not too bad as I move along the cliff face here. There you can see the towers. I'm going right there to the ruins. That's down the valley there. We'll come out here, try to stay out of the wind because it's so. We're getting close. You can see the towers are almost right above us now. We're gonna have to drop down a bit and then move up, it looks like. Now you can see them, but let's try to film and not fall at the same time. So I just want to show you, this is another way up right here next to the towers. You don't have to go all the way around. I don't know about coming down there, but getting up there shouldn't be too bad. And the interesting thing is, there's a bunch of stacked rocks right here too. So this is the spring coming out that they were guarding that runs all the time, and you can really see it down here. Kind of cool. All right, made it. You can see the ruins right above me right there. So we're gonna scamper up here and check them out together. All right. Look at this. Very neat. A little bit of a wall here. Boy, you can tell they were here for a while. Look at the smoke stains on the ceiling, and this is probably their fire pit. I don't know how well it shows up. Oh, there we go. You can see how blackened this is. So it's probably on this side, that side, and then here, let me get my sunglasses off. You can actually see, interesting, that far wall. It's not the. It's a built wall. Boy. And look at the smoke. So this was, we'll go and see what's on the other side of this. Man, you can really see the fingerprints in the mud here. That's just too cool. There's smoke all on the outside of these walls, even there. This is looking in. This is all collapsed down and built back up. I guess this was probably a ventilation hole up here. Very neat. That was probably a door for there. Very, very neat. So it was a fairly large structure. So it looks like where I pointed out that wall, there's another room. Yes, it is, because there you can see the wall. And so there's another room here. I'm not going to go through the door. Looks like I can go around the outside. I don't want to disturb anything. Boy, they did a lot of work. Very cool. So I turned around and you can see there's used to be something right here in this round area. It's all collapsed now. And then you have this structure. So can we even see? Oh yeah. Let's see the top. It looks like the back part of it's tumbled off. It probably extended all the way back to there. I don't know. We'll get on the other side there and see how far back it went. So this is the exciting part, the petroglyphs that are here. So there's more to this than what I've seen before. Looks like you have a deer and you have a man below it and then more deer running. Here you have, not sure what. And then very neat. And these are carved in, so they're petroglyphs, not pictographs or whatever they call them. So these are chiseled in. They're not painted on. Here at the base of the towers, we find a remarkable carving. Two serpents, their zigzag bodies stretched across the stone. In Fremont tradition, serpents often symbolized water, storms, and fertility, but they also carried another meaning, danger and a warning. Between them stands a man, and just above, two dogs. This is the first time I've seen such a clear depiction, showing us that the Fremont not only lived with dogs, but kept them as companions. And just above, between the serpents' heads, three distinct turkey tracks, a reminder of the animals that surrounded them and the broader world these people lived in. Off to the left here, a larger, hulking figure, harder to make out, broad shoulders. It's almost spirit-like in its form. Perhaps a guardian, perhaps a warning presence, larger than life, watching over this scene. And then off to the left here, you have what to me is clearly a hunting scene. You can see the dogs following the man, and they're chasing the deer, and then right above them is carved out like a moon or the sun maybe. And then right above that, there's another figure that's carved into the stone. I just wanted to point out this figurine that you see right here that I call the Watchers, based on one of the ruins I found, that it was between two of the ruin sites, so it looked like it was watching over them. Uh, this is classic Fremont style. So this definitely matches up to the Fremont people being the ones that occupied this site. Very neat. So we'll go around and look at the rest of this. So we'll go back in here. So this has all come down, fallen off from the ceiling, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a granary buried underneath where we are, because there's a ton of rat poop and looks like twigs and stuff, which are classic granary deposits. We'll see if we can find a corn cob or something around here, but there you can see that clearly, the far wall. And I guess they had fires on this side too, because the wall is definitely stained with it. And there you have the entrance slash exit out. So that's the ruins right up there. And I thought I saw some with my binos here, but anyways, I'm walking over here and I found this. And this is a grinding stone, or at least part of one. So I wonder what was going on above me. I'll have to go up to that level. But as you can see right here in front of me, there's a granary. So just down, and this is typical Fremont. They kind of hide these granaries away from their living dwelling kind of areas. So we're gonna go check it out real quick. Yeah, it doesn't look like you know. Oh, I guess they did do some work on it. Yeah, it was came out here. You had a little one here. Looks like it all collapsed down. Little bitty one, and then you had a bigger one here. Unfortunately, this mud is washed away. Side. Pretty cool. Yeah, see, it blends right in. It's interesting that they built the main one and then you've got a little one here. I'm wondering if they separated the different grains and things, why they would want two separate little storage areas. But interesting. So I'm just out exploring around those ruins to see if I can find anything else. And I found the one granary. So the ruins are right in there. And check out what's right here behind me. It's a dwelling. That's not a granary. So the granary was down a whole level. And this is up. I was actually looking for a... so check this out. Wow. They sealed it up there. So this whole wall was all sealed up too, I bet. I bet the reason it was here is because there was a good water coming down right here too. Just like over by the spring. Now maybe it was a granary. I don't know. Yeah, it looks like kind of a small door, but I know all the doors were actually small like that, so. But that looks like something that could be easily sealed up. We'll look down here, see if we see any clues. I know, pretty cool. So you just keep searching and you'll keep finding things. Very neat. And here's the little little door they made for it, which is pretty cool. Very neat. So I just came up this way, and if you look really carefully, you can see the Moki steps. And it puts me right in behind these towers. So if these guys needed to make a quick escape or to get up here, this is how they did it. So the towers are located directly behind me. These towers were built to protect the spring that's right underneath of where they're located. There's a small dwelling that's also there, but it's not a big one, so it didn't house a lot of people. This was mainly to guard the spring, probably during the time of the Great Drought. It was a 35-year super drought that happened in this area, and water would have become a primary resource. So the towers that were built here and the towers that were built at Mule Canyon were built to protect the water sources. So here we're standing in front of the Tower 1 and the Tower 2 as we would be coming towards them. And if you notice, you have this the tower right here, and then there's a retaining wall between them, and there's a second tower here. Now the tower's going to give the defenders a lot of height over anybody that's attacking. It'll also allow them to move behind cover with these connecting walls, just like in the old castles that you would see. So they could move, and if the enemy was trying to get in, because the entrances to these towers was on the backside, they would have to expose themselves and go over the wall, which makes them very vulnerable. Now, Tower 3 is kind of especially interesting to me. One, because it's twice as big, but there's a second reason. So the main part of the tower starts here and then goes, as you can see, in a circle. You've got the retaining wall between it and Tower 2. But the thing that makes this one different, other than it being twice as big in diameter, is that it has this portion of it that comes out in front of the rest of the towers. Now, this front portion, and it's too bad the trees are in the way, I'm going to have to work my way around them. The front portion is about the same size, maybe just a tad smaller than the other towers. And we can see it here. So you see how it comes here and then ties in to this other tower here. So I suspect, and this is just my theory, is that this was a fortification like the others that would give you a lot of height to fight off the defenders, and that this large round one was more like an arms room, a dormitory, or living quarters for the guys that were positioned here and defending this area. That seems to make sense to me, and that's usually how, I mean, that just seems to make sense to me on a tactical level. And then there is the fourth tower at the back there. So it's covering this whole area. And it also is positioned a little bit higher, so it can cover the other forts. So it would probably be your fallback area when all else fails. And again, coming off of this third large tower, you've got the retaining wall that goes all the way back to the cliff edge. Strategically, these things are placed extremely well. As you can see, this one's built almost all the way up to the edge of the cliff. And I'm sure this retaining wall did come all the way to the edge at one time. This gives you a better view of how it is made up. If this fortress operated like every other kind of fortress, um, what you would have is you would have a garrison that was stationed here of um, warriors. So, and this is why I suspect this was kind of like the guys that were on duty. This was probably the arms room, the where they had food accessible in case they came under attack. They wouldn't be able to go to the shelter that's underneath. They would be stuck here, so they would need food in order to survive for an extended siege. And this would be where it would be stored in this larger round tower. And then you've got the defensive part on the front where they would, be able to fight from. And then they have their garrison slash tower here at the back. And then you've got this tower here, the other one over there, and of course the one that I'm standing in. Let's take a look out the backside. So this probably would have been the exit out the back. For the towers at Mule Canyon, they actually have them intact, and that is in fact how it works. Was right at the rear was the door that was facing the cliff, which makes sense. You don't want to have your entry and exit on the what would be considered the enemy side. So this is the fourth tower here. If you follow this down and around, that'll lead you to the small cliff dwelling that exists on the other side of the spring, actually. We've really got the wind whipping through this crack right there. And so now we're behind tower number 2. That's tower number 3 there. And again, kind of gives us a little bit of a picture. This also gives us a little bit of a, we're only inside of the tower. This thing probably would have been, I don't know, 2 or 3 times as tall as it actually is here, maybe even taller. Who knows? Um, and you can see that we have a good view of what's out in front of us. You just got to imagine that there wouldn't be any trees there. And of course, the higher you are, the further your view is going to be, and the further out you could engage any enemy that's coming at you. And that, of course, is tower number 1. And then you can really see the extension wall going all the way out to the edge of the cliff. And then here's the extension wall between towers 1 and 2. Honestly, I'm very surprised that these fortresses aren't talked about more in our history. They're pretty significant. These were 800 to 1,000 years ago when these were built. And who's heard about fortresses built here in the United States? Now, it was pretty common in Europe and Japan, but you don't hear about them here in the US, and yet here it is, and here they did it. And it wasn't just an isolated thing. You've got this one, you've got Mule Canyon, and you've got several others that are not documented very well at all. And hopefully, I'll be able to do more research and document those for you guys also. But I think it's key to bring to light how tactically sound these guys actually were. They weren't just, farmers working the land and, running to the cliffs to hide from raiders. They put a lot of work and a lot of effort into building some pretty serious fortified defenses. So coming up into tower number 4 here, you can see from here we have a very clear view of tower number 1, tower number 2, and tower number 3. So in my mind, this would have probably been the command and control center right here. Whoever was responsible for organizing the defense, this would probably been the position they would have had. I'm sorry, I had to wait for the wind to die down a little bit. The reason I say that is from this tower, I've got a clear view of everything that's going on. I've got tower number 1, and beyond that, I can see what's coming up the valley there. I've got tower number 2 here. Okay, I've got tower number 3, and I've got command of what's going on this side of the tower and behind. So if I see that tower number 1 is starting to falter or get weaker, I'm close enough to tower number 3. So if I have reserve forces in here, I'm close enough that I can communicate with them to get those reserve forces out, move them behind the walls, and move them to reinforce tower number 1, which would be right over there. And the same, I can maneuver people from 3 to 2, from 2 to 3. You know, you can, from this position, you can really, really command what's going on what we would call the whole battlefield or your whole defensive structure here. And this tower also is responsible for this area out here, probably to about this point, where then tower number 3 would take over that sector. So you don't have a huge sector that you're covering. You've got this natural barrier of the cliff on that side. You've got a low area right in there, which makes it even harder to attack uphill and to attack this tower from this angle. So I doubt if this would have been the area of attack, because you would have had to expose yourself from a very long way off before you even got close. And again, that's why if I was the one organizing the defense here, this would be my command and control tower. It's actually not a huge site, but it's enough to where they could protect that water and protect that spring. So, very cool.
The towers, the ruins, the warnings carved in stone. Each clue reminds us of how much has been forgotten. And yet, these walls still stand after 1,000 years. As Luther's standing bearer once said, we do not think of the great plains, the beautiful rolling hills, the winding streams with tangled growth as wild. To us it was tame, earth was bountiful, and we were surrounded with the blessings of the great mystery. The ancients knew this truth and left their message for those willing to listen. Out here, the past still speaks if we pause long enough to hear it.